We have a few stories from around Europe as well as we go into the last 10 minutes of the show. We've already sort of teed up the Tsimikas to Roma thing. And that seems to be coming about, as you said, through player power, his wishes, rather than anything else. We've already teed up the Harvey Elliott thing as well. But maybe we could just kind of touch off both of them. A reminder that it was Nottingham Forest and who that were interested in Tsimikas. And Harvey Elliott seemed to be linked with at least 6 different Premier League clubs at one time. Tottenham, the most recent. Is there anyone else in the mix for him if the Leipzig thing falls through?
Yeah, it's interesting that Tsimikas, it does seem that Leeds and Forest were interested in him. You know, those are the Premier League clubs that are being linked. Marseille looks a bit of a non-starter now because they're set to sign the Emerson, the West Ham boy, and it looks like he might terminate his contracts. They might get him on a free, which is cut that. But Tsimikas has picked Roma as his destination. Harvey Elliott is an interesting one because he was mentioned in the deal sheet by David Ornstein saying that there is options. It's not certain he leaves, but mentioned Leipzig as an option and Premier League clubs are interested. As we said the other show, don't know how if it'll progress, but Villa made an inquiry, Spurs have made inquiries previously as well. So he is really one to keep an eye on. The big thing that is just interesting is almost going back to the Chelsea deal. Remember we said it seemed there was the merry-go-round of Xavi Simons would go to Chelsea, which would free up the spot. If Chelsea do move for Barcelona's Ferman Lopez, the suggestion is they wouldn't go for Simons as well, because you won't buy 2 attacking midfielders, would you, for the same position? So if that does put the brakes on Xavi Simons to Chelsea, what does that mean for Harvey Elliott? It's a bit of a question there, isn't it, realistically? And that's why, and this isn't a dig at David Ornstein, it wasn't really too much of an update in the deal sheet. He just left it all open, didn't he, to say Red Bull Leipzig are keen, but there are Premier League clubs. There's no guarantee that Harvey Elliott will go. Basically, everything is still possible for Harvey right now.
Yeah, and I hope when it happens and it gets solved that it's a solution the kid's happy with himself. Weird stuff happening at AC Milan with Victor Boniface failing a medical. There was a lovely sideline story as well, which we won't get into. But there's also more Italian news as well, with Napoli eyeing up a United player on loan. Couple of different bits and bobs then in Serie A.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame in a way for Boniface because the Saudi move fell through last minute and then he got to his medical. He was in Milan. He was in Milan for like 48 hours, wasn't he? And he ends up going home because, they failed the medical and that. And then, as you said, there's different posts, which was it about the club and, debates with Fabrizio Romano and all that. So, yeah, as it stands, Boniface is a Leverkusen player. But this one feels like it's going to happen that Rasmus, who's clearly not wanted by United at all, is going to end up on loan at Napoli to cover Romelu Lukaku, who's got that injury and is out for a few months. So the suggestions are a loan fee with an option. And Rasmus, United have finally got another one out the door, which will be interesting to keep an eye on, because if they can get him off the books, United still want that midfielder. We know they missed out on Baleba, didn't they, as well, because they were never going to get him with the fee they want to pay. But United still want a midfielder as well, desperately.
Yeah, and again, like you said earlier on, you'd have to keep your eye on them. I think there'll be stuff going on until the death with them too. It just seems to be the nature of it now, because lots of people are waiting for dominoes to fall. It just seems to be the way of it. And I think ultimately, Dave, there'll probably be a lot of disappointment on deadline day as well, where deals just don't get done because there isn't the requisite amount of time. We'll finish with Saudi because, we were keeping an eye on these from the start, wondering what level of disruptor they would be. But it seems that despite the money that's there, that there are less and less players wanting to take up that option. Now, turns out we've actually done quite well to get the payout we did from that league for one of ours. But there are an awful lot of people, I think, as you said here in your note, probably keeping an eye on World Cup, maybe being told they have to play a certain level of football or they have to be in a certain league. And it may well be having an impact on the amount of players they can attract from the higher leagues.
Yeah, totally. And in fact, it's almost got progressively worse for the Saudi project, isn't it? Because a couple of years ago, they were the big paradigm shifters, weren't they? You know, they were bidding for Mbappe. They were trying to shake up the market completely, and people were asking. Then it went down a little bit. But before the Club World Cup, everyone thought there'd be some big moves, and they were trying to do those. And now, exactly as you said, it's kind of most players have said no to them, haven't they? I mean, Osimhen rejected them 6 times, I think was a record this summer because World Cup year, everything like that. People, you know, there's no way of dressing up. It's just a pretty pants league, isn't it, really, all round? So people are looking at their World Cup ambitions. And this one, in the weirdest way, I am not sad to say, seems to have fallen through because Porto starlet Rodrigo Moura, who's kind of plays a striker, attacking midfielder, he really is seen as the new blue-eyed boy of Portuguese football, you know, the one that can be the next superstar. And it looked like Mendes had set it up where he's off to Al Ittihad. And I'm going to be honest, a lot of the football world poured scorn on that to say, why is a young Portuguese talent with all that, you know, ability, potential going to Saudi? He should be, you know, building up, you know, into the world star he could be. So it seems to have fallen through. So those things have come into the mix. It's just important to say because we never knew at the start of the summer what would happen with it. But you've got to be honest, the Saudi League really seems to have lost a lot of its luster. Despite the riches on offer, players just ain't interested this summer.
It's wild, isn't it? Because when some people have decided to go for it, like, do you think it's a situation where you have to be in a certain situation in your career, a certain point in your career, like where Darwin Núñez is, where Darwin can be fairly sure that he's such a big fish that he can probably get his game for Uruguay if he pulls up trees in that league. And also, he was hitting that stage where it was clear he didn't really have a future at the club he was with, and there was no other real clear option for him. Like Darwin, I would be amazed if he doesn't use that league as a stepping stone to get back to European football and so on and so forth. But that's a very specific scenario, whereas an awful lot of lads, especially young up-and-comer like this, like you can understand that they would be wary moving there because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the main thing that really seems to stress footballers out here is the reports from other footballers about what's going on. I heard one during the week about how one club was clearly getting beneficial treatment to another. They were allowed train first. They were getting the sloppy seconds with the various canteen food and all the rest of it. Weird stuff. Plus, it's not big with the crowds. It doesn't have the same allure. They aren't the same level of celebrity. And these things all matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it almost started, if you remember the stories a few years ago, that when players started moving there, we were hearing about, I don't know how you put it, they were in giant planes and being flown around and treated like gods. And that was obviously part of the selling point. And now as time's gone on, players there have said, yeah, it's not that great. We've had issues with certain things, as you said, and obviously that's going to get round. And it's also telling how many have looked to come back. Remember, like Gabby Vega, who went for big money and came back after a year. It really has lost the luster. It doesn't now seem to be for players at the tail end of the career or to get a payday like Ivan Toney, you know, because he's on the lower wages at Brentford and do that for a few years. Or like you said, the Darwin of, I'll do this for a year, I'll score a shed load of goals, I'll get a springboard back to Europe and relaunch my career after the World Cup. But yeah, and for all this talk of they've paid Ronaldo and everything a fortune, it really doesn't have that luster, this league, does it?
I think it was Ivan Toney who was doing the grumbling that I heard. We should start wrapping it up. Vance, as regards McAllister and the situation and him being hurt and all the rest of it, we know what you know. We were told that his wife was due to give birth and he was out of the squad for that reason. So that's kind of what we know there. But Dave, is there anything that has come up over the course of the show that you want to drop in just here before we finish?
No, I did just genuinely, like, we're here now, it's Tuesday evening, and obviously this time on Monday the window will have just about shut. things are going to have to move quickly. I mean, we're doing a show now on Tuesday evening. I'd be astonished if we aren't almost doing another one then deadline day as well, because almost we'll be, and hopefully we'll be saying, back to that strapline at the start, death or glory, as in we should be getting excited over one and we're jumping to do this, or if we're jumping on and making it up now, but if we're jumping on and say Friday and nothing's really developed, we are both looking and going, hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah, because we're looking at a game on Sunday, the chances of something breaking on Saturday, therefore, are minimal. So we're hoping that we'll be coming to you on Friday evening with a show which has at least one big story in it for us, and hopeful of a second. And then on deadline day, we'll be able to present to you 1, 2, who knows, even 3 deals. I think we'll all be disappointed if it isn't at least 2 at the end of it. But that's where we are, folks. Thanks for your cooperation, participation, all the rest of it. We appreciate your attention live. We appreciate your ears on the playthroughs afterwards and all the various podcast apps. A huge chunk of you watching live again, which is very much appreciated across the various methods. Slightly lower today than it has been in recent weeks, and I think that's because people have got like UFO disclosure exhausted with this. It's like, when is it going to happen? And I get it. But when it does happen, we will be here with you to present it to you. Thanks to Dave as ever for gathering together all the info for the show. We've enjoyed that, and we look forward to talking to you next time.